Loredana Toma sets records. The 81 kilo class far exceeds all expectations. And 96 kilo Anton Pliesnoi takes names. So we have tons of stuff to get through from the European Championships in the training hall, in competition, things to come. And then on top of that, there's just news from around the world in weightlifting. Let's get started. It's also worth reminding you guys, June 5th to 6th, coaches only. If you're a coach, if you're an athlete who wants to invest in understanding more about the training process, we have 8 incredible coaches delivering presentations to you guys. The first 5 names to be announced: Greg Everett, Will Fleming, Ursula Papandrea, Max Ater, and Cyril Martin. It's an unbelievable lineup. Hope to see you guys there. Also, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I would actually show you guys some of the new competition collars and fractional plates that we've brought out at Weightlifting House, and I forgot last week, so I'm going to do it now. These are the new weightlifting competition collars that we have, the 2.5 kilos. We have engraved, they look really awesome, the Weightlifting House logo. Hopefully there we go. So you can grab those now at weightliftinghouse.com. Available in Europe and also all around the USA. So here we have the new fractionals as well, the Weightlifting House fractionals. I'm not going to go through these too much now. If you're an equipment junkie like me, or an athlete or a coach, there's plenty more stuff that you can find out about these at weightliftinghouse.com. So the way that these are printed, we've got the WH logo at the top, as you can see. And then one of the things that I felt kind of strongly about was that we didn't have on any of the plates, not just the fractionals or the technique plates or even the main plates, was that we didn't have any unit of measurement. I didn't want it to say kg. I just thought, if you're a real weightlifter, you don't need kg to know that 2 means 2 kg and not 2 pounds. And then as you can see, on all of these smaller plates, we've got this little bit in the middle here that means that as you slide the plates on the outside of the collars, there's a tremendous amount of friction so they don't fall off. We don't have it on the 2.5s because the 2.5s go on the inside of the clips, and so they're just meant to slide on kind of easily. These ones slide on a little bit more tough so that they actually stick on, they don't fall off. If you've just been listening on the podcast, I apologise for that entire last section. These product reveals really do just lend themselves to YouTube. So let's quickly talk just a little bit about some of the training hall lifts before we get into competition results. We're going to have to stop by Lash Talakadze again. He did what he tends to do now. So when he competes, he has 2 heavy sessions in kind of the 9 days beforehand, 1 9 days out, 1 7 or 6 days out. Last time we mentioned he did the 215, the 250. This time 200, 240. This is pretty standard for him. Followed it up with some heavy squats, 270 kilos for a triple. Well, heavy for us, heavy for most people, very fast for him. He moves these incredibly well. It's amazing how with Lasha actually he's able to stay so upright in the back squat for a taller limbed lifter. Of course he does no front squats, he only does back squats. Then he did some heavy pulls and that sort of thing also. Lasha will be competing at 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 11th of April. So that's probably the day that this goes up. We're going to be doing a live commentary for that video. 2 p.m. that's UK time, so that means that's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern, that's 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then wherever else you are in the world, you can work it out. Also in the training hall, we saw Emily Campbell from Great Britain turn up. She's going to be competing just a few hours before Lash on the Sunday. I think she could actually win this thing for Great Britain. That's going to be really exciting to see. We've already had a lot of gold medals from the UK, which is great. Emily turned up. She snatched 110 in the training hall. She power cleaned 115 with a jerk afterwards. Looks incredibly easy. So I'm definitely looking forward to that session. And then we saw Andrei Romnau turn up. And things were a little bit strange because Andrei was there, then we went and we had a little look at the start list, and his name wasn't there, the Belarusian 109, who of course the 105 Olympic champion 2008. And so I actually think I mentioned on one of the live streams or something like that Andrei Romnau has pulled out because his name was no longer there. But there he was in the training hall competing. I even looked at the super heavy start list and I couldn't see him there. Turns out what it is that he is competing as a super heavyweight. He's not bothering cutting those few kilos that he gained sat on the sofa during coronavirus. As he mentioned, that's not me calling him out, that's what he said had happened to him. But his entry total is so low that he's actually going to be in the B session rather than that A session. And then the final thing to mention from the training hall, I guess, is the return of the world champion, the world record holder, Simon Martirosyan from Armenia, is here. He did 180 in the snatch in the training hall, which looked pretty good, and then 215 in the clean and jerk, which I think looked pretty tough, to be honest with you. A couple of weeks ago, we saw the Uzbek 109s, Akbar Jurayev and Razvan Nuruddinov competing, and they both lifted really well. Around the same time, Simon Martirosyan also competed nationally, and things looked a little bit heavy. I think he just made 225, just 225 in the clean and jerk, 15 kilos under his world record. He just hit this 215 in training, and I thought that it looked tough. I'm not convinced that there's going to be anyone in this weight category who's going to beat him. I mean, I think there are a few people who could maybe give him a shot. So Dmitry Chumak is one of the guys who definitely could put up a pretty decent fight. We've seen him clean and jerk around the 230 mark a couple of times recently. And then, of course, depending on his shape, Timur Naniev from Russia has put up a 405 kilo entry total. Simon has put in a 420 entry total, so he's way above anyone else, 15 kilos over Timur Naniev. So I feel like probably no one is really going to be pushing Simon so much. But based on just how this 215 moved, the clean, the stand-up, I don't think he's in the kind of 199, 240 shape that maybe we've seen him in the past. Okay, so let's jump into some actual results from over the last few days. We're going to start off with the men's 73 kilo weight category. So this was an exciting class. We had one of my favorite current lifters, Robu Stanky Leg Marin. We also had, of course, the return of Daniil Ismailov, the medalist actually at the 2016 Olympic Games. And then we had Andreev Bozidar, one of the highest ranking in terms of Robu points lifters in the world at the moment. So in the snatch portion of the competition, Max Lang hit 145 kilos. He didn't do quite so well there. He came back later in the clean and jerk and did amazingly, so we'll get to that. Returning European champ Andreev Bozidar ended up just hitting 152 kilos, missed his heavier attempts. Kalja Briken from Albania also 152, but then it was between Robu Marin and Daniil Ismailov. So Robu Marin 156, my boy with the stanky knees. He missed his third attempt, unfortunately. Daniil Ismailov then, who of course we've seen him snatch 163, back as a 69 kilo weightlifter at the Olympics. He made 160 kilos and that gave him the lead. In the clean and jerk, Daniil Ismailov made 181, Robu Marin 183, and then Kalja Briken with 184. And that actually ended up giving us in the total the gold, silver and bronze. So Daniil Ismailov gold, Robu Marin silver, and Briken Kalja got the bronze medal. But what happened with Max Lang, so 145 in the snatch, but he came back with an enormous 185 in the clean and jerk, which gave him the gold medal in the clean and jerk, but he ended up placing 6th in the total. Now, obviously, the world record in the snatch is 168 from Shiziong, and we had Daniil Ismailov just 8 kilos off that. But then the clean and jerk world record, 198. It's kind of surprising to see, at least within Europe, just how far off the world record clean and jerk these lifters are. I mean, the closest we got was Max Lang's 185. That's 13 kilos off. In the defense of Andreev Bozidar, who we've seen push into the 190s multiple times, he did take an attempt at 190, and then we had flashbacks of Rostami in 2015, where basically Andreev Bozidar needed this for the win. He cleaned it nicely, readjusted his hands in the jerk, locked it out, walked forward with it, and then just as he was meant to be holding it still, dropped that bar behind him. So he ended up not making that weight. That's why he ended up actually not medaling at all in the total. But I think probably what we're going to see is that at the Asian Championships in a week or so, that's where we're going to see the 73s really pushing into those 190s. The 64 kilo women's was basically just a bit of a everybody versus Loredana Toma. Sarah Davies from Great Britain did phenomenally well. She went 6 for 6, 96 and 98, 101, equaling the most that she's ever hit in the snatch. She of course hit that 101 in 2019 at the Great British Championship / International Open. Behind her in the snatch was Anastasia Anzarova from Russia, and then Lisa Schweizer from Germany. Once Sarah hit that 101, we basically saw Loredana then come out and take her attempts. 101, 107, 114 for a new personal record and a new European senior record. So with a 13 kilo lead going into the clean and jerks, Loredana Toma was still the final lifter to open. Anastasia Anzarova, who had 100 kilos in the snatch, opened at 117, made 122 on her second attempt. That was a 222 kilo total, good enough for the silver medal. Sarah Davies continued lifting very well. She went 3 for 3 in the snatch and then 3 for 3 in the clean and jerk, 122, 126, 129, to finally hit that 230 kilo total that she's been going for a little while. And then after opening last, Loredana Toma went 123, 130, and then jumped to 137, which would have been an international record for her. The clean, of course, was easy, but she wasn't able to make the jerk. Again, just kind of interesting because Loredana is clearly such a snatch specialist. I mean, she hits that 114. She's only within a couple kilos of the world record from Deng Wei. But then in the clean and jerk, she just can't really hang with the most elite in that weight category. I think what's going to be really exciting, though, is at the Olympics. Of course, we're going to see Deng Wei from China. But then with Romania most likely out, we're not going to see Loredana. And then with North Korea now having withdrawn their entry from the Olympics, we're not going to see Rim and Sim. And so actually we've got this situation where the next 2, 3, 4 lifters is uncertain. I think we're in a situation where we might see Maud Charon from Canada take the silver medal, and then maybe Sarah Davies from Great Britain take the bronze medal. Of course, we still have lifters like Italy's Giorgia Bordignon, who is going to put forward a serious battle at the Olympics to try and get one of those medals. But suddenly the door is wide open for silver and bronze. Okay, let's do the 81 kilo men's session, and this was absolutely ridiculous. The start of the session was actually pretty difficult to watch. Tons of misses. I was really excited to see Latvia's Ritvasu Harris compete. Obviously, we've spoken about him tons on the show. He snatched 165 from the floor a bunch of times. He's even been snatching 170 plus off blocks. But on the day, he just didn't compete particularly well. He opened at 157, which he just about made. Missed 62, missed 63. Looked like something maybe was wrong with his elbow. Beating him then by a kilo in the snatch was Germany's Nico Müller, who made 158, missing 157 on his second attempt, but came back to make the 58. And then really it was a battle between Bulgaria's Carlos Nassar, who, if you don't know anything about, 16-year-old sensation from Bulgaria. I mentioned on the news show a couple of weeks ago. I just uploaded a video all about him on the YouTube channel, so if you want to know more about this 16-year-old kid and how he's so good, then check that video out. Carlos Nassar opened at 158, which he made, missed 62, but then made 63, which forced Antonino Pizzolato from Italy to take a personal record attempt internationally at 164, which he absolutely smashed to take a 1 kilo lead into the clean and jerks. Ritvasu Harris from Latvia opened with 190 kilos in the clean and jerk, but then, just as with the snatches, missed his second, missed his third attempt at 193 and 195. I don't know what happened. I mean, the guy was hitting world records in training. He was hitting over 200 kilos constantly. I don't know if he had some kind of injury. I don't know if there were other things going on that happen to certain athletes where they don't hit quite the numbers that they tend to hit in training. I don't know what was going on, but he ended up taking the third spot with 347 kilos in his total. And the battle really was between Carlos Nassar and Antonino Pizzolato. Carlos bit first. He opened at 194. Antonino answered 195. They both then hit 200 kilos on their second attempt. Carlos obviously first. Antonino hit it just to maintain his 1 kilo lead. And then on his third attempt, Carlos came out with 206 kilos. He figured that that was the most that he was good for the day, and that probably Antonino Pizzolato wasn't going to be able to answer him with the 206, and he made it look so easy. I mean, this was a new senior European record. It was way over all of the youth and junior world records, and he did it at 16, just 1 kilo under Lu Xiaojun's world record in the clean and jerk, and he made it. And to be honest, he did have more kilos in the tank. And then out of nowhere, I mean, we've never seen Antonino, at least in this lower 81 kilo category, touch these kinds of numbers. He used to be an 85, so we had seen him go over 200 before, but 206, he came out, absolutely smashed it. He's got a bit of a wobbly left shoulder, but I mean, the lift was good. And so Antonino Pizzolato was once again the European champion. The 71 kilo weight category then for the women was amazing. I mean, Emily Godley from Great Britain ended up, I think she's the first gold medalist at the European Championships from Great Britain since 1995. So here's how it happened. The snatches were particularly hard fought. The gold and silver ultimately were decided based just on lifting order. Relasu Alaru from Romania and Emily Godley both ended up with 98 kilos in the snatch. But because Relasu hit it first, she got the gold medal, Emily Godley got the silver. And then once again we saw the old mantra come true, snatch for show, clean and jerk for dough. Emily Godley just has the strongest clean and jerk there. She came out with 122 kilos, equaling the most that anyone else had hit. I mean, from Italy, Alessia Duranti hit 122 on her third attempt, but no one else was kind of in those numbers. Emily Godley came out, smashed 122, jumped to 129, which she made, took an attempt at 132, which wasn't there, but she ended up taking the gold medal in the clean and jerk and the total. Absolutely sensational. So we had in bronze place from Romania, Raluca Olaru, 218 kilos in the total. 1 kilo above her was Alessia Duranti from Italy with 219, and then 8 kilos over that, 227 kilos in the total from Great Britain, Emily Godley. The 89 kilo males session was exciting and upsetting, at least for me. So I am, as you guys know, a huge Revas Davitadze fan from Georgia. I just finally want him to win a major championships, and I thought this was going to be it. I should have been a watcher of the Weightlifting House News Show, because I've been talking about Armenia's Karan Avagian and how at some point he's going to turn up at the senior level and absolutely take some names, and he did just that. So in the snatch, Revas Davitadze came out with 166, a kilo over Karan Avagian's OPA of 165. Karan Avagian went 170 on his second. Revas Davitadze took 71, just a kilo up. Karan Avagian 175 on his third. That's a 5 kilo PR for him internationally. Revas Davitadze tried 176, but it was a miss. We also saw the Armenian Andronik Karapetyan, who of course we've seen as a 77 kilo lifter. He injured his elbow at the Olympic Games 2016. He then moved up to 81, now bulked way up to 89. He really was rocking full chonk mode, and he hit 165 in his opener, 170 on his second, and then missed 175 on his third. So he was in the running as well, but of course we know that he's not great with his cleaner jerks. And just as was suspected, Karapetyan made 195 in his opener, missed 200, missed 205. The cleans are easy, the jerk is just not there since his injury. Davitadze opened at 198, Karan Avagian 200, Davitadze 203 on his second attempt, but by that point, I mean, just the fact that Karan Avagian had made that 175 and the 200, he was a little bit too far ahead. Revas Davitadze just doesn't have it in the clean and jerk. And so despite winning the gold medal in the clean and jerk at 203, Revas Davitadze ended up in silver medal behind Karan Avagian. In the 76 kilo category from the women, the Russians did particularly well. They took bronze and silver, but in gold medal was the Ukrainians. So Anastasia Romanova from Russia took the bronze medal. She went 1 of 6, 111, missed 114 in the snatch, and that gave her the bronze medal in that lift. Her teammate, also from Russia, Yana Sotieva, went 105, 110, 112 to get a kilo up on her, with just an absolutely astonishing save on that 112. But it was the Ukrainian Irina Deka who went 110, 113 on her second attempt to get the 1 kilo lead. Didn't matter that she missed 115 on her third, she still had the lead going into the cleaner jerks. Anastasia went 3 for 3 there, 125, 130, 132. That was a 243 kilo total, but again, her teammate Yana Sotieva was able to hit 134 on her second attempt, which gave her the lead at 246. And then, knowing basically what she needed to do, Irina Deka from Ukraine opened at 130, missed 35 for the gold, took it on her third attempt and made it, and that gave her the total gold medal and the snatch gold and the clean and jerk gold, 248 kilos for the Ukrainian. Okay, so the 96 kilo category was really exciting. I did a live commentary with Dan Kent, the People's Editor. It was our first time going live. It was a lot of fun on YouTube. We're going to be doing a lot of those for the Asian Championships and the Pan Am Championships too. And we had a great battle on our hands. We had the 2-time 89 kilo world champion Hakov Mkrichin from Armenia moving up to the 96 kilo category, taking his Roby points up. He's going to qualify for the Olympics at 96, which is exciting. Then we had from Belarus Petar Sayanak, a lifter who of course we saw at the Olympics as an 85. He then dropped down to 81. Now he's chonked way up to 96. And then the return of Anton Pliesnoi from Georgia, one of just 4 weightlifters in this 96 kilo category to actually snatch 180 or more in competition. And the snatch portion, I think, other than the fact that Hakov Mkrichin ended up with just 160 despite having snatched 70 plus as an 89 multiple times, kind of panned out as we'd imagine. Petar Sayanak made 172, and then Mr. Consistency Anton Pliesnoi 180 on his third attempt in the snatch. He went 3 for 3 and took an enormous lead going into the clean and jerks. In the clean and jerks, Petar Sayanak with his 172 snatch, which was giving him a pretty good spot in silver going into clean and jerks, he only made 202 kilos, missing 207 twice, so we knew what the total to beat was going to be. And that basically left the door open for the Russian Georgy Kuptsov and then the Polish lifter Bartolomiej Adamus. Bartolomiej Adamus ended up taking the bronze medal in the total in the end. He went 195, 202, 206. These were 2 international PRs for him. He'd never made a lift over 200 in competition, so he was very excited with the 202 and 206. Hakon Mkhitaryan then did an amazing job in the clean and jerk. He had a lot of room to make up in the snatch, having only made 160, and he did just that. 205 on his opener, 212 on his second attempt. That sealed the silver medal position for him. Jakob is, he's pretty decent in the clean, but he's phenomenal in the squat jerk, so he made that 212 look very steady. Tried for 215, but just wasn't able to get under it. And it was Anton Pliesnoi who did everything that he needed. 207 on his opening attempt, more than sealed the deal in the total for the gold medal. He then jumped to 213. That gave him his second gold medal of the day, and really his third, because it continued his total medal. He then took an attempt at 221, which he didn't need. We wondered why he was doing that. 180, 220, that would have given him his first ever 400 kilo total. But he went for 221. Maybe he's hit 220 in training, I don't know. He went for the 221, he cleaned it, and then lost air, fell down. It's going to be that lift that I feel like he's going to maybe need to hit at the Olympics if he wants to solidify a bronze or a silver medal. But I think probably by that point, with a few more months training and just the severity of the situation there, and probably the need to make it, we're going to be way more likely to see it. He didn't need this, and so just the fact that he cleaned it was pretty impressive. Okay, that's European Championships. I tell you what, it's a bit of a slog just going through all of these sessions. Maybe there's a better way to do this. I don't know. Let's move on to other big lifts from around the world, from people who are heading to their continental championships next week. We're going to kick things off in the USA. Kate Nye settling very nicely with power and grace. She went 100, 130, looks much faster than she has done, not just in the pull, but also getting under the bar. And also looks a lot happier, so I'm very pleased to see that things are doing well for her. We can't speak about Kate Nye without talking about Matty Rogers. It would seem we should be able to just have these two as separate athletes, but it just seems that whenever one does something, the other does something. Matty Rogers flew over to Catalyst Athletics as to train there under her coach Amy Everett. It's hard to see what was on the bar. It looked like 102.5 snatch, 127.5 clean and jerk, just to shake off the cobwebs after the flight. Jordan Dela Cruz, 49 kilo weightlifter, 104 for a 2+1, that's just 4 kilos under her own American record. And then Meredith Alwyn, who, you've got to feel bad for Meredith, because if she wasn't in the USA, she'd be going to the Olympics. Like, she's more than qualified for the Olympics at this point. But she just is in a country where she has athletes ranked above her, which is a shame. She's not going to go. But 153 in the jerk, for an enormous, well, it was a 3 kilo PR, but it's an enormous lift. 16 kilos over the American record, Kate Nye's American record of 137. 16 kilos, that's insane. Next we have the biggest, the most impressive lift, probably including all of Europeans too, Ruslan Nuruddinov, 240 kilos in the clean and jerk. Now, of course, in 2014, we saw Ruslan hit 239 kilos for a world record in that 105 kilo class. That was beaten by Badzanian and then Ilya Ilin. A couple of years later at the Olympics, he hit 237. That was an Olympic record, beating Aromnau's 237. But we've never seen him hit 240 kilos in competition. And this was in training, but he is going to be competing at the Asian Championships next week. By the time this goes out, Simon Martirosyan will have competed at the European Championships. So I'm going to make my prediction now that Simon gets some kind of total, but then in a couple of weeks' time, when Ruslan Nuruddinov competes, he's going to out-total Simon Martirosyan. In fact, I think that Akbar Jurayev, Ruslan's teammate, might also out-total Simon Martirosyan. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. But very exciting nonetheless. I mean, the return of a lifter who has medalled at the World Championships multiple times. Of course, the reigning Olympic champion in that 105 kilo category as well. So, yeah, I'm excited to do commentary over that one. Over in Japan, we have Miyamoto Masanori, 73 kilo weightlifter, who looks in great shape. I mean, Miyamoto Masanori, I've mentioned before, is just the most efficient lifter. He recently PR'd his front squat at 191, having clean and jerked 190 in training before. And now he's just clean and jerked 191 for 2 singles. That's 7 kilos under the world record and equal to his front squat. And you can see just by the way he does it. I mean, this is so close to his maximal strength. Like, when you watch, let's just look at, because we just mentioned it, Ruslan Nuruddinov's 240. It looks like he can stand up more. Like, you look at that lift and you go, okay, well, you can front squat 270, 275, something like that. When you watch Miyamoto Masanori hit this 191, you're looking at a max front squat, which is crazy. And then what's maybe more remarkable is just how easy his jerk is after the fact. And then that's actually everything, which is probably a good thing, because the amount of videos that we're pumping out at the moment is ridiculous. we need to slow down on the weightlifting. So that's everything. What we are going to do is a very quick people's list. We've got 3 lifters, and I'm going to go through them quickly. All 3 of them from the UK. The first one is my boy Ed Smale, Edward Smale on Instagram, Smale. He finally just hit 140 kilos in the snatch as an 89 kilo weightlifter. That equals or maybe beats the British record at 89. Obviously, it's not official, but it's a fantastic lift. So shout out to him. I remember being with him the day he finally hit 100 kilos on the snatch. So he's come a crazy long way. I used to be able to beat him. I used to outlift him every day. I'd whoop his ass, and now he whoops mine. Next, we have Benedict Milson, Mr. Big Friday, who just hit a 6 kilo PR in the clean and jerk. I really like this guy. I've been following him on Instagram for quite a while. He's very open with his mental health issues. He talks about it a lot. I think that kind of allows you to almost join in on his journey a little bit more than with most athletes. So then to see him hit the 6 kilo PR is fantastic. He's got very strong legs out the hole as well. You can kind of see him catch the bounce a little bit and then just switch the legs on, switch the quads on, and then just really propel out the hole. So great lifting from him. And then finally we have John Summers-Gill, who I think this is actually maybe a couple of weeks ago, hit 140 kilos for a clean plus squat jerk. The atmosphere was hype, the lift was hype, it was right at the edge of what he was clearly capable of. And anyone who squat jerks a heavyweight gets a mention on the Weightlifting House News Show. That's just tradition at this point. Guys, that's absolutely everything. I'll put a link for all of this cool stuff in the description if you want to check it out. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'll catch you all on another episode of the Weightlifting House podcast.